So Morph was on vacation for a while. I think he was here in the U.S. visiting his family, and I think he's finally back home. We haven't seen a video from him in a little while, and the thumbnail is quite the opposite of what a morphologist thumbnail is. So I think this one might be a little salty. This is features of update 3.16. As 2021
comes to a close, we approach the final quarter patch of the year for Star Citizen. This time it's patch 3.16, and it originally had a lot of cool features. But now, well, you'll see. But it does have quite a few events which all share one major thing in common, which you probably haven't heard about yet, which I'll tell you guys about in this video, so make sure you stay tuned until the end. Hey guys, I'm Morphologist, and welcome back. It's been a little while since we've seen each other because I've been back in the States visiting family for the first time in like 2 years, so I haven't had a chance to post much content at all. But I'm finally back, sort of. I'm actually in quarantine for the next 2 weeks, and that means I'm only able to use my laptop, which is why the quality of this video might not quite be up to what you expect from...
Bro, Morphologist is getting 60 frames in Star Citizen on his laptop, and it looks insane. What?
Morphologist videos on this channel, so I apologize in advance for that. I will be back to my normal high-definition 4K content in about a week and a half from now. So I hope you'll stick around here as we talk a bit about this next patch. Because while it's pretty light, there's still some great stuff in there that you're not going to want to miss if you're planning on playing Star Citizen over the holiday break. And as always, if you think I did a good job by the end and you think I deserve it, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button to feed the YouTube algorithms. I appreciate it.
Oh, dude, he's not hitting the rocks at all.
First on the very short list of features in 3.16 is the update to the Dying Star map. Originally, I was going to write this off because I don't really play too much Arena Commander, but I have to say that this map is breathtaking, especially because it is now working on 64-bit precision, and so the map you're seeing in the background includes real planets and gas clouds off in the distance. It's a really cool preview of what we might see in Pyro. They did say that this is based off of Pyro, but it's an exaggerated form of it because it's a sort of in-game video game, so it plays up the extreme nature of Pyro. So even if you're not into combat, you definitely need to check out this map in Arena Commander when you get a moment. On the law side of things, there's also been some improvements to quality of life, with stuff like Defense of Another, which now allows us to defend members of our party who've been attacked by a criminal. Now we won't get a crime stat for attacking them before they actually turn into a criminal. We also will now be able to see who has committed stuff like grievous bodily harm against us, specifically their name, whereas before you didn't. They also updated trespassing zones for bounty hunters so that you don't get into a trespass zone and get a crime stat yourself when you're pursuing a criminal into an area like a security post. Criminals also will now receive a less forgiving friendly fire allowance, which makes it so it's a little harder for them to grief. But I think by far the best one is the addition of atmospheric bounties. Now when you take a bounty mission, there's a chance that your bounty will be above some sort of post on a planet somewhere, and depending on the atmosphere, it will pretty significantly impact your flight characteristics and how you manage that combat situation. In practice though, I've discovered that the AI is a little bit derpy sometimes and can slam into the ground, so they definitely have to work on the AI's pathing when it comes to flying at low altitude. But it is really fun, and it's awesome that we finally get to fly around an atmosphere and actually get some combat in against AI. Because up until now, if you wanted to experience combat in atmosphere with the really cool atmospheric effects that they built into the engine, depending on, the atmospheric density and the moon or planet you're on, you'd have to set it up with other friends or players, or maybe run into a player as they're...
This is the first situation where you could do ship combat on a planet or moon where you don't have to set it up or chase after a bounty that's just going to log anyway,
Coming or going from an outpost, which is really rare with only 50 players per server. So I hope we get more stuff like this versus AI with their planned upcoming planetary nav mesh system.
Oh, this is interesting. So this is from chat. Also, a note to medics. If you're saving a bounty hunter, they need to share their bounty mission with you so you can enter those zones as well. But if they share it, you can. That's actually really cool. Thank you for that, Dingo.
city planet ArcCorp has also finally gotten some more love with the addition of its very own hospital. So if you like this city planet and you want to start here, now you've got a place to respawn when you die other than the space station. And as a reminder, if you don't know, the clinics inside space stations are technically only supposed to be tier 2 beds, which means that they can't heal the most severe injuries. You'd have to go down to a planet hospital for that. Before, ArcCorp didn't have a place to do that, you'd have to go somewhere else in the Stanton system, and now it does. So this is a big deal if this is going to be your home base. That being said, I feel like tiered entry still leaves a lot to
You can't open your Moby Glass when you're down, so you can't share the bounty. So yeah, that's a good point.
Be desired. As it is right now, in order for you to get a tiered injury, you pretty much have to die and be revived, and then you'll have it, maybe. I'd like to see them happen, like I said before you die, so it affects gameplay, especially if you're playing solo, but that's not really about 316, it's just something that frustrates me. Anyway.
No, it's about 316. So this is what I was just about to say. Who goes to the hospitals? I'm assuming everybody goes immediately up to the station and then immediately goes to the clinic and resets their spawn there so they don't have to go through a train. Literally nobody spawns at the hospitals. So what Morph is saying is about 316, is about 315. If those injuries happened before you were downed more consistently or regularly or happened and then it took a lot more to actually down a player, you would have to use these hospitals to cure some of those injuries because that is their advantage. The hospitals are the highest level, and they have they're the only places that you could get the worst injuries fixed. So
anyway,
I
the
believe
last thing I'll say about this space is that I'm not super impressed by it architecturally on the interior. I was hoping for something a little bit more impressive given the size of ArcCorp, but it works. It serves its purpose, so we'll just leave it there for now. 316 is also introducing a complete rework to the Gravelov system, which I must say has been much needed. Originally, I wouldn't have touched these things with a 10-foot pole because if you went over a rough rock or you dropped off into a canyon, you pretty much were guaranteed to explode and lose all your kit. Now instead it does a near flawless job of keeping you above the ground, allowing you to pay attention to dodging things like trees instead of small rocks, making Gravelov vehicles particularly useful on very rocky planets like Lyria, where traditionally wheeled vehicles can find it nearly impossible to navigate in some situations. You can also now adjust your ride height by hitting spacebar or control, which has a direct effect on your top speed. Fly lower and you'll fly faster, but of course you have a higher chance of hitting rocks or smaller debris. So there's a really cool trade-off with that ability. Just be super careful if you're riding at the lowest setting at top speed, because it can be kind of hard to avoid obstacles if you need to.
Oh!
Unfortunately though, at present there are only 2 ships in game that actually use this tech, the Nox and the Dragonfly. There's a very strong possibility though that there's a new one coming on.
The new one.
Online for 316 Live, but we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. If you're curious about these things though, the Nox is the faster of the 2. It has a top speed of around 200 at ground level, whereas the Dragonfly is only going to manage 180 meters per second top speed. However,
hold on, you could detect these vehicles from 7k meters out? What? But what?
The Dragonfly does have a bit more versatility with that second seat, and it does seem to navigate rough terrain a lot better than the Nox, which tends to hit the ground because of its very long nose. 316 is also introducing an unexpected variant on a popular ship. It's based off the Cutlass series, and it's called the Cutlass Steel. It's basically a massively upgunned little dropship that fits 16 people on the inside. Its armament though is mainly geared towards fighting people on the ground with these side-mounted weapons, which are supposed to be manned by highly exposed individuals out the side doors and out the back. From what I'm told, they're pretty hard to aim, but I suppose that's not really the point, and that's very Drake. At least they look really cool. It also has a new remote-controlled defensive turret on the back.
At least they look really cool. The motto of every Star Citizen. At least it looks cool. The thing about it is when the ship is flying and this tracking, you can't hit anything. So essentially, it's just another turret that you can't be moving in order to use.
Which can be controlled by the co-pilot. 2x2 weapons make it pretty formidable actually in combat, but it also gives the co-pilot something else to do, which is nice. The interior isn't too much different than any of the other variants. The cabin area is pretty much identical, with the only real difference being those seats in the rear. If you're hoping for a bit better defense with this ship though, you may be disappointed as it still only has one shield generator, which makes it pretty vulnerable to pretty much everything, but again, that's pretty Drake. Give it a lot of guns and a lot of versatility, but very poor defense. So then you might be wondering, why the heck did they make this ship? Well, according to CIG, well, sort of according to CIG, they made it for the new Jumptown event, which is what I'm getting to last here in this video. It's definitely one of the best parts of 316. So here's the quick and dirty of it. Jumptown 2 is an event that's going to start every so often.
Easiest way to kill 24 people at once.
When this event starts, everybody on the server is going to be alerted that this particular location is starting to sell really highly profitable drugs. So criminal players are going to be attracted to go here to buy the drugs and sell them elsewhere to make a lot of money, whereas law-abiding citizens will be attracted to this location to catch the criminals and put them in prison. And I very much suspect that there will be a lot of gray area here where some people may catch the criminals only to steal their load and go sell it themselves. It should offer a lot of ground and air combat, though there's a lot of question in the air about whether or not people are just going to drop bombs at this location and kill all the ground players, but we'll have to see how it actually plays out.
It's really sad
Even
that
cooler,
that's the
though,
meta.
is that this is not the only event that's going to be going on. At different times, you're also going to have Xenothreat going on, as well as the Ninetales event. So it's going to be packed over this holiday season with tons of events. And even better yet still, instead of the previous way they were doing it, where they would just randomly start the events and you would just hopefully be around when it starts, they're actually going to have a schedule where you can see when these events start and show up to make sure you don't miss the event that you and your community want to play together. Personally, I think that this is a great move on CIG's part because a lot of my community members were missing out on these events because they just didn't know when to show up. So I hope this will drive even more community involvement in these events going over the holidays. But also because there are so many events going on, there's always going to be something to do. So it's definitely not a time you want
Unless you're playing at the time that my stream is on. Then we have nothing to do. Nice.
to miss if you're into Star Citizen. But that's unfortunately it for all of the features in 3.16's initial release, making this pretty much the lightest patch that
what
we've
if we're
ever
from Australia?
gotten from CIG for Star Citizen.
Fuck us,
and that's
right?
somewhat depressing. However, they had a pretty decent reason, and that's they just didn't have enough time to integrate the 3.16 code to make it stable for going over the holidays. And this has always been a problem for CIG's holiday releases. Every single year they release a patch that just runs terrible for over the holidays, and everyone is pretty upset. This year, they took a different approach, which I can again understand, to make the existing patch a bit more stable but still add a few more features. Still, I gotta hold CIG's feet to the fire a little bit here. I really wish they would stop pushing stuff back. Every time they do it, it feels, I don't know, it's a big bummer. But I understand why they did it, so, you know, what can you do? 3.16.1 next year, early next year that is going to have a lot of the missing features, and so we have that to look forward to.
I don't think Morph wants them to stop pushing stuff back. If it's not good, you need to push it back. You need to be better at making it good in the first place, you know?
As well as the new code base for 3.16, which promises to bring a lot of other smaller quality of life changes and features that they are not listing. I'll be putting together some videos talking about Jumptown specifically in that event to show you guys how that plays out. But if you're looking for some live gameplay, don't forget to head on over to my Twitch, where you can check me out live every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday. That's it for now, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'm glad to be back. I'll see you guys in the next one.
Glad to have you back. That was a really good overview of 3.16, actually. It shows that it's small, but there was 11 minutes of content to discuss there, and there's about 11 minutes of content in the actual game right now. So it's very fitting. But in general, all minor stuff. But no matter what, I think they made the right decision, and I don't think that's really what Morph meant. I think if things aren't good, they should push them back. I think there just needs to be a situation where things aren't so bad that you always need to push them back every quarter. It's one thing for like game development to be game development. It's another thing for there to be an excuse every single quarter of why something that you in your mind thought that you could finish, you did not CIG. So it's like one of those things where it's getting kind of crazy how often that's happening. But really good video. Glad to have Morph back. And yeah, let's go ahead and link this one to you guys. As always, if you haven't seen a Morph video before, which I'd be surprised, go ahead and click that link. Give him a sub. Show him some love.